Good morning. How should I put this? It's 10 to 10, or in other words, it's 9:50 on a Sunday morning, and it's the 12th of, yes, you guessed it, this 12th of December. I've taken a run out here into the country because it's just amazing, and I don't like city life because city life is very distressing for everybody. Particularly in London, South London areas, there are vile places at the moment for to be, from anybody's perspective. There's an awful lot of bullying going on in these areas. There's no police control in those areas either. They're just left to bully. Ethnic groups now are getting white people out of their houses at a certain age and putting them into mental health. This, to me, is total corruption because the local councils are getting away with corruption on a severe level. Nobody is interested, not the local government, certainly, who shall remain nameless at the minute because of the abuse of my life. This time last year, I have a drug dealing family, gun culture, Yadi people living next to me. They were put there deliberately, I think, but they've destroyed my life. They've destroyed I can't have my grandchildren there. I can't have my visitors because they're extremely worried about the damage to themselves and to their cars. So I don't have visitors as a direct result of these drug dealers, and they are active drug dealers. They get a house for drug dealing from our local authorities, London boroughs, and also from a housing group that is so corrupt and vile. I said vile, yes, I'll repeat that, vile, who stole my property 4 years ago for no reason other than the fact that they needed the money. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stolen all my garage. Hundreds and hundreds of pounds went to this housing group, and their arrogance and their indecency was such that a few weeks ago they phoned me up and they said that, because I said, can I please have my stuff back? It's my stuff and you have no rights to locking it up without my permission. They couldn't give two shakes of a dog's tail or a cat's tail. They literally stole all my property. And when that happened, I was, as you can imagine, hundreds of pounds that I had paid into that garage for my children when I leave this planet one day. They couldn't care less. They didn't blink an eyelid when I asked for my stuff back. They were abusive. They had destroyed my life. The staff and them had destroyed my life over the years. They started to work on me, shall I say. Initially, it was making mistakes on my account. And when I questioned it as to why they were doing that, there was no real solid explanation or answer back. So from that absolute initial time, they've destroyed my life. The people next door, they're drug dealers. They have ruined my life. They have abused me. Last year, this is what they did last year. I was on the phone to my ex-husband, and what they did was, about 9:30 in the evening, I live by myself. About 9:30 in the evening, and I'm a 71-year-old lady, by the way. At 9:30 in the evening, thump, 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 two B people, two B men, can't use that word, can we? Two B men outside my door, pounding at my door, my next door neighbour, son, who's a drug dealer, pounding. This is, quote, forgive me for saying this because I don't swear and I'm a decent person. But this guy was thumping on my front door, and I was on the phone to my ex-husband, and he was shouting obscenities into my door. This is him. this is actually what happened, because my ex-husband heard it on the phone and he was terrified for me. He said, this guy outside the door, who is a neighbour, direct 1 foot away from my door, and he was shouting obscenities at me and thumping my front door. And he said, bitch, you poisoned my dog, bitch, you poisoned my dog, you fucking bitch. Sorry, quote. You poisoned my dog, you bitch. And he kept, it was pretty terrifying because I was on my own. And my ex-husband was really worried for me. So he said, you there by yourself? And I said, well, yes, of course, I live by myself. So he said, you better phone the police. They sound really nasty people. Phone the police. I phoned the police. To be fair, I didn't phone the police because I'll tell you what, I wanted to phone the police, but the police don't listen to white people anymore. They only listen to ethnic groups who are making a big storm about everything in life and getting houses free of charge from the local authorities, mental health nurses, black and Asian, getting houses free of charge. There is no families being rehoused on estates now. None. It is a criminal. Oh my God, it is massive. If this gets into the newspapers or television, this will be a massive story against the police, against the local housing association, who initially were they're damned. They're totally damned because they had no respect, none, for an elderly lady. This time last year, literally about the same week, again, thump on my door. This time it was daytime. Thump on my door. 6 people, I was in lockdown. 6 people abused me from the outside, 3 being police officers. 3. And this is what I got from the police. I said, I'm sorry, you can't come in. I said, I'm in lockdown. I said, and I'm a vulnerable person. I said, I'm 70. I was 70 back then. They didn't care. They did not give 2 shakes of a dog's tail or a cat's tail as to whether or not I was 1 or 71. So I said, I'm sorry, I'm not letting you in. I said, you're not coming in. I'm absolutely petrified of getting the virus. The police, oh my God, quote, their answer back to me was, well, you don't have a choice, madam. We're going to break the door down. 6 people. 3, you'll laugh at this bit, 3 from the mental health, because my next door neighbour is having, she's a paranoid schizophrenic and all her family. Paranoid schizophrenics, they pathologically lie about me all the time. I'm in a dangerous situation in my life. I'm being bullied by local councils, by the police, by the local government, who shall remain nameless, believe me, because what she did to me last year, she believed, can you believe this? Quote, she believed the drug dealers next door, who shouldn't even have a house there because they're drug dealing. For years and years and years, the police were breaking into their house, and it was such a regular thing. I was terrified every time the police came and raided their property. I was absolutely petrified. I was a 70-year-old lady by myself. I love being by myself, by the way. I'm a very capable lady. I have worked very hard all my life, and I don't need to tell you that, but I'm telling you now, this country's finished. Anyway, so to continue with my story about the abuse, I had to let them in. I had to let them in because of the police threats to my front door, and I didn't want my front door being broken down. Once they got in, this is the police of today, British police. Once they got in, they bullied me, and the people from the mental health, 3 old ladies that they should be past their sell-by date, came into my house, not invited in. They came in behind the police. Now, I ignored them because not one of them had a face mask, not one of them. And they're all circulating round me, and it was like as if they wanted me to die. And I mean that. I am not exaggerating that statement. They wanted me to die because they're protecting the ethnics. They are all protected. That's not an exaggeration. That is absolute fact. So for 2.5 hours, I was abused by the police. I was bullied. I thought I'd have a heart attack on the spot, and any other woman of my age would have had a heart attack and died. And I think that the government wanted me dead, and the police. I'm not joking. I am not joking. They wanted me dead because I knew too much, and I worked in television on a daily topical show, and that troubled them when they found out about that. I can't tell you how distraught I was, although I kept calm on the surface. My heart was nearly stopping. My mouth was all drying up because of the bullying I experienced from the police. My mouth was dry and I said, they were all around me. So I said, could you please move? I want to get a drink from my fridge. And only then did they move to one side. And once they'd moved to one side and I got a drink from my fridge, because otherwise I would have dropped dead. I would have dropped dead. I got my drink, and then the next part of the equation was, oh, we're going to take you away, madam. Just like that. Just blunt like that. We're going to take you away. All right, I said, okay, where are you taking me? I had to keep humour, because if I didn't, I would have died. Where are you taking me? We're taking you, we don't know yet, he said. Quote, police officer. Yeah. 3 police officers. They were brutal. Absolute brutal. I could have been a sack of potatoes to them. They treated me with such disrespect. And they said, yeah, could you get your things together? We are taking you into, I can't tell you, this is the police of today. This is the police of today. They're allowed to do it because the government's not in operation. We are going to get your stuff together. We're taking you away. And I said, what? Where? I need to know where you're taking me. They wouldn't say where they were taking me initially. And then I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm not going until you tell me where you're taking me, because I don't trust you. And I don't trust what's happened to me right now. You're abusers. You're not police, you're abusers. And I said, you're bullies. And he said, no, we're not bullying you. I said, yes, you are bullying me. I said, you've threatened to break down my door if I didn't let you in. That is bullying. So anyway, I kept calm throughout the entire experience. They bullied me upstairs, downstairs, anywhere I wanted to go to get my stuff, because they said I was going to be taken away. It's like something from a science fiction movie. It really was something like from a science fiction movie. So I had to go upstairs into my knicker drawer. I had to get all my stuff sorted, my nighties and stuff like that. I have 3 flights of stairs. I had to go up and down the stairs. 2 police officers, I asked them not to go in twos. Please don't. I said, it takes 1 officer, I said, to just follow me around if that's what your intention is. And they couldn't care less. Not even blinked an eyelid. They bullied me right the way upstairs. I went into my wardrobes to get my nighties and things like that. I was terrified. Can you imagine a 71-year-old lady absolutely terrified in my own home by police bullies, by London Borough of Merton bullies? Yeah, London Borough of Merton Council. Evil people. Absolutely evil. Police, absolutely evil today. Evil. Now, I got all my stuff together, and I had to wait still. I mean, it was about approximately 2.5 hours of bullying. I had got all my stuff. I don't know how I survived it, actually, to be fair. I do not know how I survived it. I was in such a state, inside, in my heart and my soul. because I knew I'd done nothing wrong. But I knew that the drug dealers next door, they're pathological liars. They abuse myself and my property and my family and my friends. My friends and my family will not come here now anymore. They won't come to my home. It was so destroying. I still didn't let them. I felt like really, really breaking down and crying, and I thought, I can't say it out loud. I will never show on my face what you have just done to me, because you are the most evil people on the planet. They had no empathy, nothing to do with age, no respect, no consideration. The police actually of today are not police. They should be defrocked. They're not priests, by the way, but they should be defrocked of their uniform, because it is absolutely despicable what they're doing to people. And it's not I nearly said it. These people are drug dealers. Are getting away with it. They're getting, and done for years. They've done it for years. The break-ins to their property, the amount of people that came up, police in riot gear, at different times in our lives. You just couldn't write it in a book. It would be too surreal. What happened? They couldn't find. First, they wanted to take me in an ambulance, and I said, "Well, I'm not sick." I said, "I'm not sick." I said, "I don't want to go in an ambulance, thank you." So I said, "Oh, we'll have to take you in a police car then." It's as if it was like it's as normal as breathing in and breathing out to them. We'll have to take you in a police car. I've done nothing. No, I swear before God, as I'm making this recording, I done nothing to the police. I done nothing to any of the other borough of Merton implicated. I done nothing to nobody. But they took it upon themselves on the hearsay of a schizophrenic, paranoid, evil woman and her family, and they continue. What's happening is ultimately this is the outcome. They took me away into a certain place that I can't name for legal reasons. They took me away in a police car. This is the truth. No exaggeration, no drama. When they took me in the car after 2.5 hours, bullying me around my own home. Literally, everywhere I went, they went. They followed me upstairs, downstairs. This was like I nearly died because I had to go to the loo. Because my bladder is not brilliant, and I was bullied. I went into the loo and I thought, well, they're surely not going to follow me in there. They put their foot in my door in the loo, and they listened to me in the toilet. That is the extent of the British police bullying now. That is the extent of our country that I once adored so much, and that the police back then, when I first came to this country, the police back then were amazing. They believed in their own white people. Now, there isn't hardly any white people left in these grotty, evil estates where the housing groups are abusing white people, putting them into mental health at a certain age, bullying them out of their own homes so that the Asian and black nurses can be given houses. Our houses, by the way. I'm being bullied out of my house right now. I'm nowhere near home at the moment because I'm in a country scene, many miles from my home, because I'm terrified of these evil doers. But the people on my doorstep are vile people. They're Yardie. I don't know if you're familiar with Yardie, gun culture people, drugs. I've been threatened. My car's been damaged so many times now. I think I'm just going to have to sell it by a mental health nurse who they know, who's local. My car was damaged. I came out of a turning. I was about to come out of a turning, and she was on the main road ahead of me, and she was coming into the same turning I was coming out of. A narrow road. Believe this. because it happened. A narrow road, cars both sides. She had a similar car to a Chevrolet. So she knew what she was doing. Another bully. So I said to her, do you know what? I said, you can't come into this road. I said, until I'm gone out of this road, because there isn't enough room for you. She didn't give she did not give a damn. She absolutely just hit my car and put her foot on the brake and on the accelerator pedal, and off she went. Bully. Mental health bullies. Yes, mental health bullies. Nurses. And it was evil. What I experienced, I'm hoping to make a documentary with Panorama sometime soon, because this country is so vile now. The police, what's happening in our police call centres, if you phone up, I've been assaulted in the last 3 months by an Asian in his own shop, a DIY shop. I'd never been in there before. Never. I went in to help a sick friend who couldn't get out and needed to change his keys because he was living right next door to drug dealers as well. And he was absolutely distraught, and he was really worried for his life. I went and did the human thing, and I had gone to this DIY shop to get a couple of things for him. When I went in there was nobody in the shop. And I said, oh, hi, good morning. I said, I need to have some keys cut. And I said, I also need some black bags. Right, that's all. Two things. Right? He went away. He didn't say good morning or anything. He just went away to do the keys. The keys were done. Came back. I had the black bags ready to pay. When I took my card out of my purse, I placed it in the machine on his counter. And I said to him, I can't see a pin, come up. I can't see anything that says enter pin. And I said, maybe, this is what I said to him. That's all I said. Listen carefully to what I'm telling you. It's not dramatized. It is the truth. The whole truth. So help me God. And I said to him, no, there's no enter pen coming up, sorry, but do you have to press another button? That's all I said. Unquote. And his reaction was so awful to me. There was nobody in the shop at that time. His reaction was so awful. He said, are you telling me what to do? Quote. Are you telling me what to do? Are you telling me what to do? Unquote. I said, no, not at all. I said, but I can't see the enter pen. Where, So he said, quote again, get out of my shop, get out of my shop, get out of my shop. Right? So I said, oh, wow. I said, that's a little bit severe, isn't it? I said, I've only just come in. So I said, is that why your shop's empty? I said, because you abuse your customers. I said, that's not good, is it, for business? Anyway, as soon as I said that, he came out from behind the counter and he pushed me out of his shop. Now, the keys were still back there and they needed to be paid for, and I needed the keys. So I said to him, it's a bit of a drama, isn't it? I said, coming into your shop, because I said, to be honest, I said, I need the keys. I said, do you want me to pay by cash if it's a problem on the machine? And he said, look, get out of my shop, get out of my shop, get out of my shop. Anyway, so what happened then was, I said, I'll give it one more try if you like, on the machine, on the card, and see if, the enter pen works this time. I gave it one more try, and it worked. The man was absolutely the most angry I'd seen, because they all are angry people. They're very angry people, the men. Their men are really angry. So at that stage, a young white chap came into the shop, and he heard the tail end of what was happening. But he didn't back me up or anything like that, because he didn't know the full story. He came in towards the end of what happened. And he, undoubtedly, if he'd heard what was going on initially, he may have done something about it, in my defence. But it was awful. Absolute awful. So I thought, right, okay, so I'm guessing at this stage that whites are not invited into their stores or their shops, because they can't cope with white people that are nice and polite and decent. So anyway, I left the shop, and I was quite distraught myself at that stage, because it definitely wasn't an experience that I'd ever encountered. 3 weeks ago, I was driving my car on a main London road, and this was in going towards Norbury. I was driving my car on London Road. The traffic was so bad that I decided to detour off and go round the back streets of Thornton Heath to come out a bit further down towards Norbury. What happened next was almost planned. Well, it was planned, in fact, by them. It was like a setup, an entrapment of white people, of the black community, an entrapment. What they did, they tried to stage an accident. Now, this is the scenario. Listen carefully, please. Right, I'm off the main road now, and I'm going through the back doubles, as they say. And then I do a right into another side road. And I'm blocked by a car in front of me, a biggish car. And the driver is like, he hasn't turned his engine off, but he's stopped. I turned mine off because I see there was stuff happening in front of him, that another car wanted to get out past me. I actually, I didn't even have my engine on at that time. I just turned it off, and just because I couldn't be bothered with the fumes, happening in our climate thing. So I switched it off. When I switched off my engine, this is what happened, I swear by God. He rolled his car back onto my car and pretended to himself and everybody around him that there was an accident had taken place. I kid you not, this is London, danger country. He staged this accident to blame me for hitting his car. And I said, I got out of my car and I looked, and there was no damage done to his car, or mine indeed. And he insisted on saying that there was damage done to his car. So then I thought, oh, I can't be bothered with this. I said, I'm just going to take some pictures and it'll be decided in court. So I got out, took some pictures, right? And he was screaming at the top of his voice, letting everybody around him know that I was the person that was being, I was the one that had caused an accident. I hadn't. It was just entrapment. So I said, well, there's nothing wrong with my car, and there's nothing wrong with your car. I said, so you can't call this an accident. I said, because I can tell the insurance. And I said, I've taken pictures of your car and mine. Do you know what he did next? He almost assaulted me by passing past me by my car door. I was outside my car door. He kind of pushed past me, took my car keys, out of the lock in my car, took them out, and what he did next really did scare me, because he took the fob off the key, and I had to remain calm. Although, again, a similar situation to the abuse I suffered in my house. So I said to him, do you know what? I said, you better put those keys back, I said, because what you've done, I said, is extremely illegal. I said, and you could end up behind bars for doing that. I said, this is an assault, I said, on an older lady. I said, you can't do that in this country, I said, as far as I'm aware, not unless the laws have changed. I said, you cannot abuse an older lady to that extent and entrap her into what you deem as being an accident. And it was only then that he realised his actions. And I said, you better scarp her. I said, no, you better go right now. Because I said, if you don't go right now, I said, I will be phoning the police immediately. And I knew in my heart of hearts that the police were useless. They had no power. The local MPs have no power because these people are ruthless. They get what they want by lying and belly aching to our governments and our local authorities, and our local authorities are giving them the houses. They're giving them the houses. No white people, no white families are being put into these housing estates now. They're all going to mental health nurses in the Black and Asian community. On my left side, I have an Asian man who is mental health. On my right side, who are the troublemakers, serious troublemakers, paranoid schizophrenics and drug dealers dealing from home. How did they get a house? How did they get this house to deal from home? Because there's a dodgy organisation. And the organisation is the London Borough of Merton. Now, you can think what you like, people. And this recording is 31 minutes 49 on a Sunday morning. And I've had to drive away from my house to keep my sanity because of the people who are pursuing me and lying about me to put me into mental health. I'm not a mental health patient, believe me. I have no intention of being a mental health patient. I had severe bullying from the police. And the mental health are pathological liars. Because she's the drug dealer next door don't want me there. She wants the house for one of her aunties. That's how they speak. So by getting me out of my house, they've got total control of their housing group. They've got total control of London Borough of Merton. They've got total control of local governments. What is happening in Britain today is very, very terrifying for the white communities. 100 houses approximately in every close. $100 houses approximately in every close. Out of that number, I've been here since 1976 in these places. When I first moved in, it was an amazing place. It was another London Borough of Merton who was absolute, genuine, absolute brilliant people. But the people that they put in power today in this same borough are arrogant, abusive bullies who have no idea what they're doing to the white people, but they have every idea of what they're doing to the ethnic groups. And they're getting everything, whatever they want, they get. They know exactly how to run the system and how to get the system on their side. They are the most evil people on our planet to date. Now, I don't care who hears this, but this will be given to Panorama. And the police have been warned already about the abuse in my home, what they've done to me. It was totally vile, violated all my rights. This country cannot point their finger at Russia because Russia is a pussycat compared to London at the moment. All the organisations, this is where they're going wrong. All organisations today have got call centres. Now, I've renamed those call centres and I've renamed them cozy centres. Cozy. They are social settings for the police, social settings for the banks, social settings for all organizations, all technical people who are in shops and places like that, who have call centers, the doctors, my doctors, abusive, totally abusive. You go into their places and first you phone up, and I've never been unpolite on a phone, but you get somebody there from another country, and they are invariably, I love Europe. I love Europe. You know, if I could live in Europe tomorrow, I would, because there's far more intelligent than how the British deal with their people. And quite honestly, I am not a racist. I'll give you a prime example. I will give you a prime example of the censor that was put in place this year, May I think it was, or July or something. And I will give you an idea. I phoned up the census office. A leaflet came through my door, and I phoned up the census office in London Borough of Merton, Civic Centre. The chap I spoke to, from the outset, appeared to be arrogant, so I thought, oh, can't be bothered, here we go again. So I said, I'm here to do the census form online with you. These are some of the questions he asked me and said they were relevant. Can you tell me, this is his voice by the way, quote, can you tell me what's the name of your boiler in your cupboard? Now, I dismissed that because I thought that's too stupid a lie to think or imagine that I can believe that. I don't believe that was on the census form for a minute. He kept asking silly, stupid questions, right? So I said to him, I've had enough of this. I said, I'm sorry, I said, but I'm not doing anymore. And I said, these questions, I said, are irrelevant. And what you're doing, I said, is provoking me. And you're entrapping me into something that you've got in your head. So I said, I'm not doing it anymore. Before he left, before he got off the phone, he said, you're a racist. I never met him before in my life. Never met him before in my life. I was on the phone to him. I was destroyed. I thought, what is happening? Something serious is happening in our country, and there's no one aware of it. This country, I think, is this country is actually going to be invaded. It's already been in place of these people. They're getting jobs, houses, everywhere now. They've been hailed heroes out on our television screens. There is no room for white people in this country anymore. And the only white people are getting admired in our country are the ones in government, the ones in local authorities, the ones who rip us off, the housing groups who rip us off as tenants. All my stuff in my garage by my local housing group. I've been in my house since 1976. I've seen the good, bad and ugly, but this is the ugliest I've ever seen in my entire life. Of an unbelievable assault on my life. So I am kind of thinking to myself that if I don't get something done, I'm going to be a victim of their abuse to the extent of me getting. They will try and get me into mental health, and they will involve the MP. And if the MP takes no action on my part, then this country is invaded, well and truly. And that the people in local governments and in local power, in their offices as managers, that's their intention, to get all white people out of these states. Don't take my word for it. Please, don't take my word for it. I will give you a guided tour of where I live. I will show you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I will leave it up to you people out there to make a decision as to whether or not who's lying. I can guarantee you it's not me. I worked in top security for 10 years, approximately, in a London gallery. I was renowned. The patrons were actually writing me. I had a second contract with them. They were writing me letters when I was discovered after singing in their galleries. I was the actual exhibition designed by this artist from Berlin, and I had to study. I had to study lots of stuff, believe me, and it was just amazing. I really had the most wonderful work in life, and I was always around media from the age of 22. My first media job was 22. I always loved to be around media. I didn't want to be in media necessarily, but I was always around media because I was good at my job, excellent at my job, absolutely excellent. I worked for Jeremy Vine on a local London TV topical show where there's a panel and there's a presenter, Jeremy Vine. Everybody knows who Jeremy Vine is. Well, maybe not everybody. But everybody knows Jeremy Vine on TV. I have always been respected all my life. No matter what job I ever went into, I was highly respected. And I spent another 7 years, approximately, at Chelsea Football Club, taking care of their players, the visiting players, taking care of all the hospitality side of it all. Extremely good at my job. Got to know so many people. Oh my God, I can't tell you. I had to deal with ambassadors from Europe at different times, and it was just amazing. It was one of the best jobs I went into. It was just brilliant. All my life, I've been respected in any job I ever went into, in any country. The abuse, I tried to get some help. I went to Age UK first to see what they thought of it initially. Listened to everything I had to say. Took everything down. At the end of it, the sweet lady said, and she was a sweet, I'm not patronising her because I didn't know her. She said, well, maybe you should go to the Citizens Advice Bureau because they're more equipped, I think the word she used, to deal with serious stuff like that. So I said, okay, fine, not a worry. And I went on my way. The following week, I went to the Citizens Advice Bureau. Put everything on the table about the abuse, about Moat Housing Group and all the rest of it. Yeah. It was like, right, okay. After taking down all my personal, private information on a one-to-one, after taking everything down, and I could not believe that at the end of it, nothing was done. Now, it was my understanding that you're supposed to get a half an hour with a solicitor if you have a serious problem. You're supposed to get a half an hour. I didn't even get the offer of it. It just wasn't available to me. So all my information was taken down, and what they do with it is they give it to the government because it's a type of spying technique where they can get all the information they can out of you and then turf you away, because they generally do not help you. So all right, so I thought, right, okay, so 2 people so far, Age UK and Citizens Advice Bureau. I went to the law centre in Morden actually. I went to the law centre, and the lady all very nice people. I'm not all very nice people, nicely spoken, nicely dressed. And I thought, surely I'm going to get some help from the law centres, surely. The lady behind the reception said to me, when I told her my plight, she said, if you haven't got legal aid, there won't be a court case. I said, right, okay. I said, that's very damning, isn't it? So I said, right, well, I said, what would you suggest I do? I said, so she said, this is her, quote, the only people getting legal aid today, this is her, behind the reception. I kid you not. The only people, quote, getting help today in legal aid are the people that murder other people. Well, my eyes opened up big, and I thought, right, okay. I took a couple of steps backwards, and I thought, right. I said, I hope you're not suggesting I murdered somebody. She said, oh, no, not at all. And I thought, right, okay. So I said, right, so obviously there's no help available here in the law centres either. She said, no, there isn't. So I said, well, you have a nice day, I said. You have a lovely day. And I just walked out. I was so disgusted with what I heard. I walked out. There was really very little options left to me. So the only option I had was to go to the local county court or magistrates court in Croydon. Yeah, Croydon. So I went up there and you can't get nowhere with the security guards, right? There were two ethnic security guards. I don't know what you say other than that. I mean, it was two guards, okay? Two guards on the entrance area. So I said, all right. I said, it's possible to get in to have a conversation with somebody about, abuse and stuff like that. And one looked at the other, as they do in that denomination. And the other one said, oh. And they laughed as if, don't you know? Right, so I said, is there any availability of speaking to a person in the court in the courts at the moment? And they said, no. That was their answer, right? So I said, right, okay. I can't be bothered to myself. I thought I'll just grin and bear it and do what I had to do previous with the law centres and Age UK and Citizens Advice Bureau. So I had to go with my tail between my legs, in a manner of speaking. And as I was leaving, one of the security guards said, oh, quote, oh, well, there is a number you can call. And I was walking away this time. Oh, right, there is a number you can call. And they might be able to do something. So I said, tell you what, I said, you're not really educated to my level. I said, I can't be bothered with this. So I just walked away. Yet again. So I went to two courts, the magistrates and the county court. And if there is ethnic groups on the door, you won't get anywhere. They totally turn you away. I have never been so humiliated in my life by these countries' inaction. And there is no government in place, believe me. Now, there is one man that should be hailed a hero and that stands up for the people of our country. And he's none other than Sir Charles Walker, MP. He is the only one who stands up for the people of our country. No matter what he's speaking about, he is concise, he is collected, he knows exactly what he wants to say. He literally just stands up in Parliament and tells it how it is. Loads and loads of people want him to be Prime Minister, but I want him to be Prime Minister more than all of them put together, because he is articulate. he knows exactly what the story is. And he comes across as being one of the most genuine people in Parliament. I haven't seen any others be that genuine, either on the Conservatives or on the Labour side. Sir Charles Walker, arise, Sir Charles Walker. There's a lot of people out there on the web wanting you to be Britain's Prime Minister. But most of all, I do. Because I think you are absolute material to be Prime Minister of our country right now. And I wish you luck, and I hope you get to be Prime Minister. Because if you do, things will change for the better for this country. Things will get done. So it's my wish that it is my wish, my Christmas wish really, that we have you as Prime Minister in the new year. So get working on it, Sir Charles, because that's what I want to happen in the new year, God willing, if they don't kill me by then. And I mean kill me, because they nearly killed me last year. They nearly killed me last year when they bullied me, when I was in lockdown and I told the police that I wasn't allowing anybody in because I was in lockdown. They bullied me so badly that I lost, when I came out of this place, by the way, I lost my hair as a direct result of the stress levels that they put me under when I went into this place. And when I went into this place, oh my God. Most all of the people in there, in the staff, were ethnic. No disrespect, I'm not racist. I promise you that much. You have my word on that. I am not racist. Never have been, never will be. Most of the people, the staff, were ethnic. All doors were locked to the patients, who were left like guinea pigs, who were left like experiments, who were left walking around these evil places and stalked by other patients, men. When I was stalked by a man. The man, he was a big tall man. He came in 3 days after I was there. He was a big tall man, very athletic, and he stalked me everywhere. When I had my lunch, he was there. He was directly looking at me all the time. I don't show on my face what I feel inside, because I have a way of dealing with stress levels, and to me it's keep calm. You haven't done nothing. Why should I be stressed? I haven't done nothing to nobody. My sons won't come to my address in years. They haven't been to my address. My granddaughter won't allow her grandchildren, my grandchildren, to my address because of the abuse and bullying at local level and the intimidation by ethnics. If you look in their direction, they've got such a chip on their shoulder. Are you looking at me? This is their attitude, quote. Are you looking at me? Are you racist? These are the things, the simple things that start the ball rolling for them, because they're so bad bullying people that they should all be in the police force, because the police are no different. And the only difference between a bully on the street and a bully in the police is that one is paid and the other one isn't. I'm going to leave this recording. Now, if I put this out, it'll be to Panorama, because I want Panorama to listen seriously to the outright assault on my life. I should have died, and they would have been up for manslaughter for what they've done to me. This woman has been left in this place, drug dealing, their gun culture, yeah, I said gun culture. 2 summers ago, I was sitting in one of the hottest summers of my life, and I was sitting on my balcony, and I was really enjoying the hot sun. It was just brilliant at the front of the house, And there was loads of people around. I wasn't the only one that heard what was going on. Her balcony door was also open, and it was obvious that you could hear what was going on. This was the conversation, quote, that I heard when I was sitting on my balcony. Now, there's two brothers. One is very, very mentally damaged. A very, very tall chap who assaulted one of my visitors. Yeah, I said assaulted one of my visitors. And so that man doesn't come to my house anymore now. And what happened was, these, quote, are the exact words that I heard when I was lying down on my balcony. They couldn't see me. I was just lying down, and it was a covering area. And it was, there's a lady coming along now with her dog, so I don't want to shout. And this is exactly what happened. This is exactly what happened. Are you trying to take my gun, bruv? Are you trying to take my gun, bruv? Are you taking my... Right. Shouting. Are you going to take my gun? Are you going to take my gun? Everybody heard it, but nobody says anything. And the mother, who's also mentally ill, is trying to get, I think it's her granddaughter was there that day. And her and the granddaughter were trying to get the brothers not to fight about the gun. I said, don't take my gun, bruv, don't take my gun, bruv. And so I thought, oh, Jesus wept. What can I do? I mean, I'm on my balcony, and I just didn't want to move. Because if they went out onto the balcony, I would be exposed to gunshots. Yes, I would be exposed to gunshots. When you tell the police something like that, and if you're a white lady, look out. They don't actually answer to women on their own. The police do not answer to women on their own. I spent all the time, anyway, with this gun situation, right? The older brother was accusing the younger one of trying to snatch his gun. So he must have been either lying down or sitting down or whatever. And his younger brother tried to get the gun from him. You want to take my gun, bruv? You going to take my bruv? And then the mother got involved. Then the daughter got involved. And there was shouting going on. And he was like, right, okay, I think it's about time I went back indoors. Because I didn't want to be listen to all that. But I don't take the British police seriously anymore. I don't take the government seriously anymore. Because the abuse on the streets of London is catastrophic. I've worked in television off and on for over 6 years, really. I had two presenters at different television studios. One ITN, one in Queensway. I cannot tell you how respected I am throughout my entire family, throughout all the friends I've known, all the people I've met, in all the jobs I've ever been in. I have been highly respected by everybody ever crossed my path. And in this instance, shall I say, this drug dealer has been left outside to abuse people. The last straw was me last year, when the dog next door, as I said, when the dog next door died, I got totally abused. Now, I've got I don't know if my ex-husband can be a witness to it, but he certainly heard everything that was being done to me. When the dog died, my ex-husband said to me, don't go out there. He said, whatever you do, do not go out there. And I said, well, I haven't done anything. And he said, don't go out there. Just listen to what I'm telling you. He said, do not go out there because they could do something to you, something nasty. So anyway, I actually started speaking through my front door when I put the phone down to my ex-husband. And I said, I'm sorry, I said, but I have not killed your dog. I have not poisoned your dog, as you suggested. I said, I am not that sort of person. I had an Alsatian dog for 15 years myself that I absolutely idolized. And I said I would not do that. By 10:30 the same evening, by 10:30, the same man who pounded on my door, and I have glass panels on my door as well, pounded really loudly and abusing obscenities at me. About 10:30 that evening, when he had gone away from my front door earlier, I get a letter through my door. I've still got that letter, by the way. It was a letter apologising for him accusing me of poisoning his dog. I was like shocked to high heaven. I was shocked to high heaven, and I said, right, okay. So, right, okay. Now, what is happening in these societies is everything is normal for them, and they're never disturbed by police, they're never disturbed by anybody else, but they are absolutely ruining, bullying the white people really badly in our society. Local level, South London. Bad, really badly. Now, I've survived so far, but this story will go live if anything happens to my life, because I am worried for my life. If anything happens to my life, this will go to a television studio whereby they can actually dissect this recording if you want to. But everything I am telling you is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. These people are absolutely getting everything from our government, everything from our local authorities, because all the people that left these establishments, the decent people who left these establishments in the London Borough of Merton and all the other places, right, they've got ethnics in there, giving houses away to their aunties, giving houses away willy-nilly to healthy mental health nurses who don't need the houses. They've all got big cars, big mobile phones. They've got £3,000 scooters to run around and network on day and night. Finally, I'm going to end this, because what I'm going to tell you now, I've saved till the very last. You're too close to him. You are too close to him. Stupid. Sorry. There was a van. Look, just now, there was a biker in front of him, and he was so close to the biker. If the biker stopped, he would have been run over. Just now, on these country roads. These are the sort of things that's happening in our country. Now, the last thing I will tell you is, and this is quite a serious matter as well. I was assaulted outside. There's a friend who's very sick, but quite ill actually. And in 2009, there was a road accident, and a motorhome tried to overtake him on his push bike. He nearly lost his life. He was in a coma for weeks, and I didn't think he'd make it, and nor did the doctors. A very fit person back then, very intellectual, very fit. And he had been friends with me since about 1989, approximately. So yes, of course, we were distraught to find out that he was run over by this motorhome. And it was his girlfriend's motorhome, it wasn't even his. And his neurological state, shall I say, for months after, he was in a type of a rehab for people who have head injuries, etc., etc. And it's very distressing even to talk about now because it was really bad. But anyway, it's going to be said. So he had a really bad, serious road accident where he nearly lost his life. Now, he was allowed out of hospital, and months later he kind of, he didn't get all his cognitive state back, but he got a good percentage of it, which we were absolutely delighted about. Now, he has a flat just off London Road in Norbury. And the flat is next door to a pub, if you've got the scene. And these people are congregating around his door, because he's ground level, obviously, and it's a flat. They wait outside his flat. They entice him into drugs. He's quite a sick man. You know, he's not a well man. They coerce him into drugs. 12 o'clock in the day on his own doorstep. Hundreds of pounds taken from his bank account. And the guys that was taking the money from his hand knew he was damaged goods, and still took the money out of his hand. And as they do, that big white smile of theirs to say, "All right, thank you." Now, this is absolute serious abuse in London. I am terrified to go back to my house because what they do is they because I'm 1 foot away from my front door, 1 foot away from my front door. When they come to the front door, they're so close together, the doors. They literally spread out a line of them, not one by one. They don't go into that house. They spread out in like from my side of the porch to their side of the porch, and there's maybe about 5 of them walking towards both doors. And I have a glass panel in my door, and it was total intimidation. But that's just how they are. Total intimidation. And I am terrified of what they might do next, because when they moved in, many, many years ago when they moved in, shortly after they moved in, their son was about 6.5, I think, back then. And what happened was, he started lighting papers and putting them through my letterbox. Now, somebody was a witness to that at the time. And when I explained to the woman, this drug dealer, I didn't know she was a drug dealer at that time. Excuse me. When I said at that time, and when I told her that her 6.5-year-old son had put lighted papers through my door, she denied the fact that that happened, even though I had a witness coming into my house around the same time. She denied. I had to live with that fear for many years, that same thing would happen. And the same thing did happen, but it wasn't her son. It was gangs of drug dealers who know that this chap next door deals drugs. So it was essentially, it was a drug deal that went wrong. And they targeted his motorbike, which was left of my garage. And they absolutely, at about, must have been about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, that this evil noise of really damaging his scooter, or at that time, back then. They didn't stop at that. They weren't just happy with that. There was a girl in the flats who had a Mercedes car parked outside her garage next door. At 2:30 they returned. They had big knives, believe me, big knives, like machete knives, that type of, because I was witnessing it from my balcony. I was doing it discreetly, obviously. And they had big machete knives, and they were just doing an Norman Bates, shall I say, on the windscreen with big knives, right, to break the glass to get into the car. It was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And again, I was on my own. The girl knew these people, so she didn't actually pursue anything as far as I'm aware. But at 5 o'clock that same morning, at 5 o'clock, my youngest son is a heating engineer, and at 5 o'clock that morning, he was asleep because he worked in London the following week, so sometimes he stays over at my place. So the night before he came up and he stayed at my place. This is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I did not hear the alarm go off, the fire alarm. But at 5 o'clock that morning, there was a fire started. And my youngest son heard the alarm, thank God. And we both survived. But I still didn't hear it. I didn't still hear the alarm. And he went downstairs to put the fire out. And he got his feet burnt trying to put the fire out behind the back of the door, the front door. Forensic came the next day. The police, no great big deal to them. They just came, they put the tapes around to make everybody look as if they're doing their job. Nothing was done. She was still left there. She was left there with her family to destroy our neighborhood. Because we don't know who she is, but we know now that she is, somebody has actually recently said, somebody who works in government, and that I know, has said that these people have been put here deliberately and they're spies for the government. Now, I don't know if that's ultimately true because I can't prove it. But that came from a credible source, that they are spies for our governments now. Because years ago they were breaking into their property, raiding for drugs. And now, all of a sudden, they're the best friends with the police. Now, I am not telling you one slightest lie. I'm not. But what happened to me, and what's still happening to me, when I came out of that place, where they dragged me out of lockdown, I think it was about 13 days I spent in there, approximately. I can't tell you how I felt. The experience was almost, I should have died. As a 71-year-old lady, I should have died. Because what I saw in there was just equally distressing for me. The nurses, the mental health nurses, locked, the offices were always locked. The patients were left to their own devices. They were just left wandering around, aimlessly, nobody to talk to, etc., etc. Nobody, no one. Right. The outside contract, security, Asian, ethnics, big tall guys, they'd come in and they would sit in chairs outside some of the patients' doors. It's so distressing to even talk about it. It just upsets me a bit to talk about it even. But they would sit outside those doors and all the red lights would be going on. Approximately at one time there was 5 red lights coming from all different directions. It was their job as outside contractors, security, to inform if the red lights went on. At different times every night, red lights were going on and off. The security never got off their anatomies to check any of the patients, because they were all white patients, dragged into mental health as well. Now, I went up to one of them and I said, I said, I'm not really a mental health patient, obviously. I was dragged into this situation and bullied. I said, but I do know this much, I said, that if there's a red light going on in a hospital like this, I said, you're supposed to act on it. And the response I got was so mystifying and so uneducated that I thought my life is even more at risk in here than it is, when they bullied me. And I said, really, I said, in all honesty, and I kept calm because I know they're volatile, they're bullies, they're extremely angry people, and they can't stand white people. We're not prejudiced against them. They are against us. They can't stand us. That's why they can't integrate. Now, I'm not here to hell and damnation on them. I'm here to secure my own security, my life, in other words. I'm here to secure my life because my life has been threatened so many times by the police, by the local government, by the local council. The entrapment is something that I take very seriously in life as a law. Entrapment is continuously being put on display in all South London garages, and all Asian men, not women, all Asian men are protected from what they lie about, because what happens is, I'd love Panorama, I want you desperately to investigate this, don't take my word for it. They go into these garages and the police are trained up on the tills, and it's called entrapment against the white people or against anybody they think, the Asian population, they think is a menace to their life. So they want no white people in their shops, no white people in the garages. They just want their own people. Now, I don't know about whoever's going to listen to this, but please take it seriously, because our country is being invaded and the government's not aware of it. And if they are, then they're all criminals, the whole lot of them. But this country needs to realise that the white people of our country are the ones that's out working 14-hour days and have been, like myself, in the past. We are the ones that are running the country because we're the white people out there earning our daily bread, and I mean daily bread, because there's no room for savings, especially not with this pandemic. So we are the ones out there, my family. I have 3 sons who have never stopped working from the time they left their colleges, etc., and their schools, wherever. I'm seriously, if anything happens to my life, I want people to understand that the abuse was so systemic, that's the word. The abuse was so systemic by the police. The abuse was so systemic by London Borough of Merton Civic Centre. There's still, the mental health are still chasing my car at different times. The police are still chasing my car at different times. Now I'm obliged to maybe sell my car because I don't feel safe in my car even. I always lock my car, by the way, but I still don't feel safe because the police have so much power now over their own white people, and they're letting the Asian population and the black population have everything. They've got London on a pass. They've got it on a pass. They can do what they want. They can build what they want. They can do exactly what they want. And they know that nobody's going to say anything. Because this is what's the whole crux of the matter. From the very early stages, they have built up these colonies, I call them, because they don't integrate outside of their own groups. They don't interact with white people. So, and the only interaction they have with the white people is when they're abusing us on the back streets of Thornton Heath and Norbury. The actual housing group should never have taken the keys to the complex because the abuse to their tenants is vile. Don't take my word for it. Walk around the estate yourselves. This is what I want Panorama to do. I want them to walk around as researchers on the streets of Pollard's Hill in London and to see the systemic abuse of, it's just an evil place to be. Out of 100 houses approximately, I don't even think there's a third of white people left out of 100 houses. And there's many hundred houses, believe me. They had an over 5 million library built, especially for them. They had a youth centre put up for them, which cost probably in the region of 8 million. They recently had 22 million refurbishment to the local housing group. 22 million. Because they let it go down. They let it go into disrepute. The managers weren't managing. Hardly surprising. They got 22 million refurbishment from the government. Whoever takes this story up, listen carefully. I ask nothing for myself, but my safety and my security. But I am terrified of what is allowed to happen on this particular estate. Terrified. Because the hostilities that myself and others as white people are going through on this estate is like too inhumane, too East European, too awful for words. So I will end this recording and tell you very briefly that if anything happens to my life, God forbid, I want this recording to go out on every television screen, on every newspaper, because the abuse of my life was so bad. I cried at night for days and nights after this happened. I was absolutely petrified when I got back into my house because this woman and her sons, drug dealers, they have so many people they know at local level that it's scary for me to even walk down the streets. And lastly, with the drug dealing that goes on in London Road, going towards Norbury, there's a pub there that lets them in after hours. And as you can imagine, things happen. I'm not going to say anything. I was coming home from helping this man last night. It was more probably about 1 o'clock in the morning when I left. Because he's extremely vulnerable as well. He has diabetes too, and he's not a well person. And he was coerced for drugs on his doorstep, and hundreds of pounds disappeared from his bank. Hundreds. All I said to my friend was, whatever you do, don't take the drugs from them. Don't give them money. But he was possibly quite terrified of them because he's a vulnerable person, very vulnerable. And what happened was, when I left there, they were still outside, these people. There was one across the road intimidating me as I was coming out. And a few weeks ago, I was coming out of my friend's flat. And I had my iPad in my hand to put into my bag when I got in my car, directly outside. I hadn't even got to the stage of putting my iPad into my bag until I got into my car. But before that happened, there was 2 ethnic men of a certain denomination, and one was quite a tall chap, and he said, quote, "Are you taking pictures of us? Are you taking pictures of us? Are you taking pictures?" And I thought, oh no, here we go again, to myself. And so I said, "Are you talking to me?" I said, "Are you speaking with me?" So he said, "Yeah." He said, you've got an iPad in your hand, haven't you?" He said, "You're taking pictures of me, you bitch. Are you taking pictures?" And I said, "No." I said, "No, I'm not taking pictures of you." I said, "I'm trying to get in my car, if that's all right." Now, if I hadn't taken that attitude to him, he threatened to take my iPad off me on the pavement outside my friend's flat, and he would have assaulted me, and who knows whatever else he might have had on his person. But if it weren't for my action back to him, I said, no. I said, no. No. I said, I wasn't taking pictures of you. And if I didn't act like that, if I acted as if I was scared, I would have been in trouble, for sure. I would have been assaulted on the pavement outside my friend's flat. So I got in my car, and I quickly got out of that area, because that's where they congregate, round that pub. And the illegal car sales rooms on the opposite side of the pub. And my friend is living next door to a pub. And in between a DIY. Now, the man in the DIY shop is not the same man I was talking about on London Road. This one next door to my friend, he can't stand these drug dealers because they're constantly losing him business by drug dealing. So, I don't know where you are, police, but I will say one thing. You're on my computers, a decent, innocent lady of 70. I've done nothing in my life to be ashamed of. You are encrypting all my videos from the studio and other places that I've taken over the years, and my family and friends are being absolutely scrolled through to, they've got all, police in Pollard's Hill are criminal, as far as I'm concerned. Indecent. Because they're letting all these drug dealers get away with it, and they're now on the pages of the white people, innocent people, because what's happening is the ethnics are telling them lies, and the police are believing them. You just could not put it into a fictional film. You could not believe it. But this is what's happening. And no one is taking any notice of the white people. The police call centres, they're cozy centres. The same as the 101 numbers. That's them. The same as the health numbers as well. The call centres there. Very arrogant staff with no respect for nobody. Because they're social centres for them. They're social centres. They're not call centres. They're social centres for the police, for the medical health people, they're all. Oh my God, I've researched this so much over the last year. I've really spent a year researching these call centres and how they operate. And initially, you have to spend your money on your phone lines for them to get their advertising done. And that's why the phone lines are always engaged, because it gets their advertising done free of charge. It's now my lunchtime. I am in the heart of the country. I can't say where, but it is absolutely gorgeous out here. And it is the 12th of December. And I want all you people out there to know that my life is at risk because housing organisations like the Civic Centre in London Borough of Merton and Moat Housing Group are absolutely treacherous. They're a lethal combination. They're a lethal combination, and nothing is being done for the white people of our country anymore. Nothing. Don't underestimate what I said. This is why I want Panorama to pick up the story and to put this out on the mainstream TV and newspapers as being the worst case scenario that I have ever been through in my entire life, 71 years now. It is vile, a total violation of my rights, a total systemic assault on every aspect of my life. If you can imagine that 6 people are in your house, in your kitchen, and they're all standing close to you, and then no one's wearing a mask, none of them. And the initial shock, they wanted me to die. It's that simple. They wanted me to die. The government, the police, the lot. They wanted me to die. Because you would not do that to a dog, let alone a human being or an older person like myself. But it was done. And it's going to continue being done. Because no police have got credibility now. No government has got credibility apart from Sir Charles Walker in this country. It is an absolute failure for their own white people. I wish you a happy Christmas, and I wish you a happy day. I pray daily, nightly to God, yes, I said to God, that my life would be spared. The people that's doing all this are doing it to get houses from the local authorities, to get the whites out and get them into mental health, the older ones, so they can steal our houses. It sounds fiction, doesn't it? Yeah, I'd be inclined to believe it initially. This is a fact of life now. That our houses are going to the mental health nurses in the black and Asian communities. Don't take my word for it, please. Do not take my word for it. I'm a decent person. Come down to Paulus Hill. Go round every close. Take pictures if you want to, because I did, and I am. Take pictures of the way that we're supposed to live our life in Paulus Hill. It is vile. It is so corrupt that my life, as I said, I spent most of my days in this car away from there because they're just waiting for opportunities to make an assault on my life. I don't even tell my own family because they'd be worried too much for me. And they've got their own children, my grandchildren, etc., etc. I don't tell them what's happening to my life. My youngest son is the one who keeps a close watch on what's happening in my life. But they're all at a distance, approximate 50-mile radius in different directions, all of them. So I am totally exposed to them. I am not going to give up the fight to get them out. But that will be the crux of the matter if I do, because they could snuff out my life on the streets of Norbury at night. I try not to go out at night now, only if I'm in my car. But please, I just want everybody to know out there that white people are suffering extremely badly by the abusers in our life today. I had every respect for the police. Years ago, they were decent men. They did a job that was worthy and worthwhile. Now, the police, I have offered to go into the police to lecture for them, to lecture to them about how they go about bullying. But when I looked up on this report last night before I went to bed, Sir Charles Walker, remarked about an older man that was being bullied in Parliament, protesting against something, climate change or whatever it was. And the same happened a few months back, where an older lady, a 72-year-old lady, I think she was handled indecently like I was, and she was handled by the police, bullies. And this is oh my God, this is some of the ethnic's attitude to his MP, to the MP. When the MP was in total disgust of what they were doing, and he said, "You must," quote, "you must have mothers, all of you. You don't have to do this to an older lady." They took no notice, and one of them remarked back to him while he was trying to push this spread-eagled. It's on YouTube. Spread-eagle, this woman was, 72-year-old, and bundled. She must have, similar to myself, she must have felt like she was going to die. And she was put into the back of a police van outside Parliament. And the police officer, one of the police officers, turned round to the MP and he said, "They're doing wrong, get me?" Quote, "Get me?" It's like, yeah. Oh my God, got change position. These are the sort of people we're up against now, and I'm terrified for my grandchildren. Growing up in my granddaughter will be 13 in January 2022, and my grandson will be 10 actually in he'll be 10 in March, 2 months later. I am terrified for them because they're white people in now an almighty mass of ethnics that has invaded our country, and allegedly 20,000 will be coming in over the next 5 years. Where are you going to put them, Britain? Where are you going to put them? This is not Great Britain anymore. This is not United Kingdom, because all the people that built the United Kingdom up now are dead and gone. The good uns, I call them, the good uns. What's left now is people fighting, white people fighting for their lives in already established ethnic communities. And we will never get a look in again, because our police and our governments are not forceful enough to respect their own white people, because the ethnics are so good at pathological lying that they convince the police, they convince the government, they lie against us. This is what it's like. So my final words is, welcome to London. If I could get out of London right now, I'd be the first to leave. But my passport was stolen in the summer months when I was going to my sister's in Wales to get over the shock of what had happened to my life, to get away from it all. Went to Victoria, National Express, coaches down to Wales. Sometimes take my passport because my sister has a house in Ireland, a bungalow in Ireland, and very often she will go over there. And if I'm down at her house about that time, I go with her, invariably. So I took my passport just in case. I got on the coach, and before I got on the coach, I put my baggage away, and the driver was a very angry man. I thought, oh God, this is endless. It was never ending. So I said, I'm sitting at the front of the coach because I suffer from motion sickness on travelling. He said, "What? He said, "No." He said, "No, you can't sit in the front of the coach," he said. He said, "You sit at the back of the coach because that's the only seat available." So I said, "Right, okay." Couldn't argue with him. You couldn't sort of make an all-out assault on them like they did with me. So I said, right, okay. And I knew straight away that it was entrapment, just by their sheer arrogance and bullying. I knew it was entrapment. The only available seat was the toilets, right by the toilets. And on my right-hand side, there was a big, tall, ethnic man from possibly Jamaica or one of those countries. He seemed quite nice. He seemed quite engaging, as they do initially. And right in front of me, there was an Asian man, coincidentally. Right in front of me. He never stopped moving in his seat because it was only him in the seat and I was behind him. And that was the toilet behind me. He never stopped moving violently in his seat, talking out loud on his phone all the time. I had a drink in a tray, in a cup holder. And because he was moving so violently, he upset the cup holder. The drink went all over my left side of my body. I had my little bag. I had my little bag with my passport and all that in it at the time. Well, once I was preoccupied with drying off all the left side of my clothes that he upset my cup, the bag slipped down under his seating area. And yes, you might guess it. My money, I had approximately £200 there, and I had my passport. Gone. Stolen. Right, stolen. Right in front of my eyes. During the time I was drying myself off on my left side. And because he was moving so badly in the seat in front of me, the bag I had, only a purse-like, that I had my money and my passport, fell down under the seating area where he was. He was the one who picked it up. There was nobody else around. He picked it up. So I was distraught, as you can imagine. When I got to my sister's, I was like so stressed. I just could not believe what had just happened. So there is a vendetta going on at the minute between cultures. And it's a case of who's going to win these wars on culture in these local governments and these local authorities. And I will tell you in a nutshell that the Asian and the ethnic communities have taken total power of these places. And what will happen in the near future is that all these places will be invaded by them, which they are already. And it's been in place for about 30 years. Because the government is asleep. The police are totally asleep to what's happening. And they're condoning it, the police. They're doing everything what the government and the local authorities say. So these people are vehemently lying against the white people to get them into trouble so they can steal their houses. And that's what's happening. This is going to end right now, this story, because it will be a story. It will be a massive story if it gets into the newsreels and it gets into the newspapers of the most evil abuse imaginable to older people right now. And I don't even think the government have woke up to the fact. I think they're still sleeping. This is major, massive problem right now on our doorsteps, that ethnics are taking over our areas to such an extent that if you walk into a shop and you're a white person, you're likely to be assaulted. That is not an exaggeration. That is an ultimate fact of life that I went through. And I'm still going to be assaulted. I know I am. Because these people, unless... I've asked this housing group to move me away from the area I'm in. They refused. I've asked them to move her away then. They refused. Which only means that they want trouble between the cultures. They want trouble against between the cultures. Because I have never lived in a country for 71 years, or let's say 61, because I came to this country when I was 10 years old, or just approximately. And I have never, ever come across, in all my years here, such violating people and such evil on my doorstep. I don't know if I will be recognised. I'm wearing my hat at the moment, so I don't know if I'll be recognised if I do go out on television. But I'm pretty certain I will be, as being the girl on telly. This country's finished, in a nutshell. It has nothing to offer its white people. And the people who are running our country right now are not Rishi Sunak and Priti Patel, or Boris Johnson indeed. But it's the ethnics that has invaded our country. After 30 years, they have now got the hang of lying to our governments and our police about white people. And they know exactly, they're calculating to an unbelievable level to get us out, older people, so they can have their own young ethnic group, families and friends in. And that's what's happening. It is total corruption. Total corruption everywhere. The housing group raided my garage, took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds that was in my garage for my sons, for when I exited Planet eventually. I had antique dolls in there. I had a friend's motorbike fairing that he bought. I had loads and loads, because I did markets years ago. I did markets in Portobello Road and Notting Hill and places like that. And sold children's fashions years ago. But now the story is that we are finished as white people, and unless the government wakes up to what's happening, this country is going to be overrun, and it is at the minute, particularly in the big cities. And if the police and the government don't sit down and have a conversation about this in all seriousness, then our country's finished forever. It'll never be Great Britain. It'll never be united ever again. Never. Never. Couldn't be. Because the white people are being too badly abused. It's now 1 hour and 48 minutes, 22 seconds, and I'm going to close down this recording. But this needs to get into the press, panorama, the right places, because my life is being threatened. Last year I should have died because the humiliation that I went through by the police and the people who I did not want in my house in lockdown. In the toilet, I felt so sick inside. I was broken inside. I was absolutely destroyed. But I didn't show it on my face outside because I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of seeing me to that limit of distress, because I'd done nothing to them. I'd done nothing to nobody. I have stood up for my rights, and I have tried to fight my own corner with these people for going on 4 years now. And the abuse just didn't leave off. They just closed down my garage. I've been paying. I paid 1 year, Because I took advice from a solicitor in Holborn that I used to know years ago. And on his advice, I said to him, look, quote, I'm really, really being abused by a housing group at local level. And I really do need some legal advice on it and stuff like that. Unfortunately, he turned around and he said to me that he only dealt with tribunals, that he had no legal in housing or anything like that. So, and he said it would have cost me about possibly £500 to write letters there and back, etc., etc. And that's Holborn. I realise it's an expensive borough. But that's how it was. That's how it is. I'm really worried for my safety and my life. And right now, if you saw where I am, it's almost... Oh, there's just one car going by. This is it. I'm in the total heart of the country where nobody can find me. And it's a Sunday. I am so distraught about what I'll find when I go back to my house. I'm so distraught. I am so sick to my stomach of having to do this. So 1 year on, they're still distressing my life. All of them. 1 year on from what the damage they've done to me. They follow me they follow me when I'm out in my car sometimes. And I know that I recognise their car because mental health people only buy Nissans and things like that. They only buy Nissans and things like that. And I identify with every single one of them now. But I'm going because I've really drained myself out. When I think about having to talk about this, it's very stressful for me. It's almost like a death in the family. If you bring it up in the early stage, it's too raw. It's something that you don't feel that you can cope with in the beginning. But a year on, they're still hassling me. They're still pulling up outside my house in their big cars, the drug dealers. Still intimidating my life. Yeah. And I'm thinking of selling my car because they follow me in my car as well. So that is the ultimate truth of my life right now as a 71-year-old lady who's done nothing to nobody. Nothing. I have done nothing to nobody. It's all on the hearsay of a schizophrenic, paranoid drug dealer who for years and years and years and years have been dealing in drugs, her and her sons. And she's been left there to destroy my life. Don't see my grandchildren because my daughter-in-law won't have them over to my place. So I'm equally distraught about that. Very stressed out about that because I adore my grandchildren. And my sons, they don't come here either. Apart from my youngest son. Because he's a bit like me, he's not scared of anything. And human beings now are evil to each other. And the people that we called police in the day, back in the day, are no longer police, believe me. They're not. I'm just sick to my stomach as to the way they treated me. They will never regain my respect, never. Never regain my respect. The local government will never regain my respect for believing a drug dealer, gun culture drug dealer on my doorstep that they put there deliberately to destroy my life. By they, I mean the government and the police and the local authorities. But I'm not the only one. Oh my God, if I was the only one, I'd be probably in floods of tears right now. There are other people on this estate that are suffering possibly worse because they might be in mental health and maybe not understand what's going on. I do understand what's going on. It's as plain as day. It's corruption at high levels of society now. Yeah. Have a nice day, everybody. Welcome to London. This is 2021 London, towards the end of the year. 2020 had almost destroyed my life because of the stress levels I was put under by the police, by the mental health people, by all the people who wanted me dead. Yes, I said dead, and I meant that. They all wanted me dead. But I'm alive. This day I'm alive. But when I go home, I can't call it home because I'm terrified of what I might actually... I'm having kind of flashbacks about them doing the same thing this year as well. And my stomach is sick, even as I'm saying this story to you. My stomach is sick. I feel sick that there is nobody on the white person's side. No one. Not the MP, not the government, not the MP's office, not the police. Nobody. Nobody is on my side. Not one person. I pray that Panorama will take up this story and it will root out the evil that's on Pollard's Hill Estate, management offices, and Moat Housing Group should be closed down for what they're doing to their tenants. And the local governments, angry people, they are trying to entrap me everywhere I go now. They're trying to entrap me. But I say it out loud. This is entrapment. If you do this, you will illegally pay the cost. But it means nothing to them because they're extremely damaged people, the police. We've never seen a police force this damaged in my entire history on this planet. I've never seen a government so hostile at local level to its own white people. That is more than disturbing. Have a good day, everybody. And I hope you're blessed, because I'm not.